What if most of your conversations weren't really about what they seemed? What if there was a script beneath the surface of advice, arguments, flirtation, or even help? And what if you've been playing your role in that script your whole life, without even knowing it? You say you want a connection, but why do you constantly find yourself in power struggles, circular arguments, or exhausting relationships? Psychiatrist Eric Berne had a radical answer. He believed that adults, just like children, play games. Not for fun, but for control, for validation, for survival. Not games like Monopoly or poker, but psychological games, invisible ones. Games with names like, "Why don't you?" "Yes, but," "If it weren't for you," and "Now I've got you, you son of a bitch." These games aren't played consciously. They live in our tone of voice, pauses, and what we don't say out loud. And the payoff? It's rarely happiness. It's the safety of the familiar, even if that familiar is miserable. In this video, we will expose the hidden logic behind these games. Why do we play them? How they trap us? And what it takes to stop. So, if you're ready to look deeper into human behavior, including your own, subscribe to this channel now. Here, we uncover the psychological patterns that silently shape our lives. Because someone in your life is playing a game with you right now. The only question is, do you see it, or are you still playing your part? Chapter 1. The scripts we didn't write. Long before we learn how to pay bills, hold eye contact, or say, "I'm fine," when we're not, we learn something else. How to survive emotionally. As children, we observe. We absorb. We watch how love is given or withheld, how conflict is resolved or ignored, and what behaviors get rewarded or punished. From that quiet observation, we create a map, not of the world, but of people. And from that map, we write our first script. Eric Berne believed that inside every adult lives 3 distinct voices, which he called ego states. The parent, filled with rules, judgment, and phrases like, "You should," or "That's not how we do it." The child, full of raw emotion, need, rebellion, and fear of abandonment. And the adult, calm and rational, rooted in the here and now. The problem? Most people think they're speaking from the adult. In reality, they're trapped in loops between parent and child. One person criticizes, the other retreats. One nags, the other rebels. One begs for help, the other rescues until they both resent each other. We don't even realize we're playing roles. The hero, the victim, the rebel, the caretaker. These roles once protected us, but now they define us. And they silently shape every relationship we enter, from partners and parents to bosses and strangers. Imagine a woman who learned, as a child, that being useful earned love. She becomes the helper, always needed, always available. But deep down, she resents it because she never needs to enter the room. Or a man raised in chaos, who learned that silence kept him safe. Now, in adulthood, he can't speak his truth. He disappears in every conflict. These are not conscious choices. They're unconscious scripts, inherited, memorized, repeated, until we see them for what they are. Chapter 2. The most popular games in the world. Some games don't need a board or rules. They only need 2 people, some tension, and unspoken needs. These are the games people play, and chances are, you've played more than one. 1. Why don't you? Yes, but. It begins innocently. Someone shares a problem. You offer a solution. They nod politely, then explain why that wouldn't work. You try again. Another suggestion. They smile. Yes, but, and reject it. After a few rounds, you feel frustrated, maybe even foolish. But here's the twist. This isn't about solving anything. The player doesn't want solutions. They want attention, affirmation, and confirmation that their problem is unsolvable. In the end, they keep their identity as the helpless ones, and you leave the conversation feeling drained, unseen, maybe even blamed. 2. If it weren't for you. This one hides behind relationships. A woman says she could have followed her dreams, if it weren't for her demanding partner. A man claims he'd finally get in shape if his boss didn't keep him at work late. This game is about blame as a comfort zone. The player avoids risk by outsourcing responsibility. It's easier to stay stuck when someone else is closing the door. But often, the door is unlocked. And the truth is, they never tried to push it open. 3. Now I've got you, you son of a bitch. This one is a trap. It starts with patience, smiles, pretend understanding. But beneath it all is a quiet scorekeeping. And then one small mistake. One late arrival. One forgotten promise. The player pounces. They explode with all the things they've tolerated. But this isn't about the current issue. It's an ambush, a sentence that was already written, just waiting for the final word. What's the payoff? Moral superiority, control, the illusion of justice. But it poisons the connection and teaches everyone around to walk on eggshells. These are just a few of the games Berne identified. Each has a predictable opening, a hidden motive, and a painful ending. But they all share one thing. They're easier to play than to feel what's underneath. Fear, shame, loneliness, desire. The truth is, most games begin the moment we try to hide something, even from ourselves. Chapter 3. How we trick ourselves. It's easy to point at others and see the games they play. But the real challenge? Noticing the ones we play with ourselves. The truth is, most games don't begin as manipulation. They begin as protection. We learn early on that certain behaviors bring safety. Silence keeps the peace. Pleasing keeps love. Control prevents chaos. Over time, these coping strategies become identities. And we begin to lie not maliciously, but habitually. Not to others, but to ourselves. We say, I'm just being helpful, but we mean, I'm terrified of not being needed. We say, I'm fine, but we mean, I don't know how to let anyone see me. We say, it's their fault. But deep down, we know avoiding responsibility feels safer than risking failure. Dr. Berne called this the secondary gain, the hidden benefit we get from staying in the game. Because even if the outcome is painful, at least it's familiar. We get to be right. We get to stay small. We get to avoid change. And perhaps most dangerously, we get to avoid intimacy. Because here's the paradox. Most games aren't about winning. They're about not feeling abandoned, not feeling helpless, not feeling seen in a way we can't control. We stay in these loops, not because they work, but because they numb. And as long as the game is working on that level, the truth will feel threatening. Even kindness will feel suspicious. Even love will feel dangerous. That's how deep the script runs. Until we are willing to feel the thing we've been avoiding all along, the game continues. Chapter 4. Exit the game if you dare. What happens when you stop playing? When you no longer say, yes, but. When you stop rescuing people who don't want to be saved, or blaming others for doors you've never tried to open. At first, silence. Then the discomfort. Then something strange, space. When you stop playing, something in the system breaks. But it's not always relief. It's often resistance. Because games don't end cleanly. They collapse awkwardly. The people who were used to your old role might get confused. They might get angry. They might try to pull you back into the pattern that kept everything predictable. You were the fixer. You were the victim. You were the one who always apologized first. Now, you're changing the script. And not everyone wants a rewrite. Eric Berne taught that the only way out of a game is to return to the adult ego state. The part of you that sees clearly, that listens without reacting, that chooses action over impulse. But here's the cost. The game gives you something, even if it's painful, and walking away means letting that go. No more guaranteed attention, no more moral high ground, no more excuses to stay small. Instead, you get honesty, you get responsibility, you get freedom. And sometimes that's terrifying. Real intimacy, the kind that's not built on roles or games, requires presence. It asks you to show up as you are, without defense, without performance. That's not a step, that's a leap. But those who take it, they stop living reactively and start relating. For real? Some games are fun, but what about the ones we're talking about here? They cost us relationships, trust, years of our lives. Maybe you saw yourself in one of them. Maybe you recognize someone close to you. And maybe you're just starting to see the script. The good news is this: you can stop playing. You can rewrite the part. You can live without manipulation, guilt, or unconscious patterns. But it takes courage. Because when the game ends, the real conversation begins. If this video opens something in you, don't let it end here. Subscribe for more psychological deep dives like this. Share it with someone who always just wants to help or needs saving. And if you want to go deeper, I highly recommend The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. It's a masterclass in decoding hidden drives in others and yourself. Because some people play games to win, others play to survive. But the ones who grow, they learn when to put the game down. And finally, start living.